Hey everyone, so welcome to our APIs with Next.js camp for today. This one's going to be I think pretty short, 30 to 45 minutes almost, because it's kind of a part one kind of beginner intro into what APIs are and what we can do with them with React and Next.js. I hope to kind of build on this, maybe introduce Supabase, talk about, creating and just the whole CRUD pipeline and stuff like that. So what is an API? And so an API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's basically a full stack of tools and features, definitions, and protocols that allow us to combine different softwares and services and stuff. It allows us to basically create offshore networking or even internal networking where you want things to pass and feed data to the other. And it really helps without, to build on new things, but also to scale really well. For example, on, the STEMpump website, we use an API almost everywhere. I mean, all this content's coming from our own APIs that we wrote. These both have their own, custom things that we wrote for them. If we use the search bar, this uses the Algolia API. We use Sanity's API as one of our awesome sponsors for a lot of the site. We use Airtable a few places in there, and Supabase also powers our whole camp system. As well as our emailing API. So APIs really allow web products and general products to flow. Even our app uses a lot of our same APIs from our website. And so today we'll be kind of diving into that. To get started, let's open up the terminal. All right, let me grab this, make it a little bit bigger, and let's create a Next.js project. So I'm just going to go into my documents. And I'm going to write npx create -next-app at latest. And it's going to start creating that. What's my project name? STEMpump APIs Next.js. Cool. And so we're going to create that really quickly. It's going to add all this stuff. Awesome. So it's done. Okay. Close out of this. We're going to open VS Code. I'm going to go into this assuming that you have a little bit of React knowledge. There's an awesome camp that I did a few months ago that you should be able to find still, and I'll have it linked, called Building a Blog with React Next.js, and that's a really good introduction to JavaScript and a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. All right, I have VS Code here. Now I'm going to open documents, and here we go. Cool. I trust all the authors. Okay. And I'm just going to full screen this and just kind of make it a little bit bigger so you can kind of see it. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write npm run dev. Can I increase the size of this individual? No, I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. Cool. And now we have our localhost, which you can go through right here. Now that we have our Next.js project set up, we're not going to really touch this yet, but we're going to go to an awesome website that provides sample APIs that we can look at and we can use as a source of reference for now. In this camp, we're not going to be really creating any APIs, but manipulating them and kind of understanding them. In the future, we'll be able to kind of create our own APIs. And I also did a course, or camp, I guess, a few weeks ago about Sanity, which allows you to create your own headless CMS, and you can make your own APIs. So we have fake data. We can do get, post, put, and delete. And we can go nuts with it. So you can see we have all these different things. So we're going to be talking about get today, and use that kind of as our base reference. So we have this. This is what an API kind of looks like. So you can see that we can list a single user by calling this request. So user 2. You can actually click, and so you can see this is what it looks like. We can do user 3, and we get user 3. We can get, I think, user 0. No 0. We can do 1. And we can go up to whatever number is there. I don't really know how many there are. But I mean, yeah, they have some examples down there, but whatever. And this uses JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It allows us to basically format data in the way that we like with different data types. So you can see we have like numbers here. We have an array of data. We have strings. I don't think we really have any other data types here. You can use booleans, doubles, a lot of different things. It's really interchangeable. You can use it in apps and websites and whatever. It's basically, most APIs are basically written in this, if not all. And so we can send data to it. We can receive data from it. We can tell it to do different things. which is all really, really awesome. And you can kind of see, if we kind of click through a few of these, you'll see single resource not found. We have a response 404. Response 200 basically means that we have succeeded, right? Our request went through, and you can kind of see all the ones where it lists, our resources. It works out. This is another one, or delete, unsuccessful. You can see that they're for everything kind of 400. That one started off as a 200 and then became a 400, whereas this one started as a 400 and became a 200, as a 204 became a 400, 400 to 200, and you can kind of see how these all kind of happen. So where do we go from here? What we're going to do is this. So we have our we have an API folder that we can use in a little bit. We have this page. We're going to delete all of it, and we're not going to really do any styling today, obviously. But we can just kind of set up, some basic, this is my data. Okay, and you can kind of see it updates. Yay, this is my data. May add some padding to it, just for the sake of padding, 2 rem. There, that's some data. And so what we're also going to do is we're going to just use export async function getStaticProps. And this is a static implementation, and we're going to just have it use incremental static regeneration, which is a lot of words. But essentially, we're going to just create a request. So constant rec equals await fetch, and we're not going to kind of fill up anything there. And we're going to do const data equals await request.json, and then we're going to return our props, and then it'll be data, and then we don't really need anything else after that. You can add a revalidate, which is what we use at STEMpump. It's just called ISR, and basically means as you update things, it's a how many seconds before kind of rechecking and going against cache, which is a whole other subject. So we have this, and if you reload the page, it's going to crash because there's no URL. We have to put a URL in, and also we have to have this accept data. So we'll go back here, and we're just going to list users. So I can click here, we'll grab this URL, and then what I'm going to do is just put quotes, paste it. I'll do page 1, and now if I reload the page, you can see everything loads out. What I'm going to now do is I'm going to do console.log, and I'm going to actually log this data. And you can see right here, it logged all of it, just like we wanted, which is really, really cool. A lot of data, and it's really helpful. Let's display some of this data now. So let's create a list, maybe. So I'll create an unordered list, and we're going to do curly brace data.map. So we're going to iterate through each one, and we're going to call it user, and then that'll go into an list component. And we can kind of now see how this breaks down. So I want maybe the user's first name. So user.first_name, and it says, oh, you can't map data, and let's see why. Because data contains another thing. We got to do data.data. So let's just rename this to users. And then we do users. A lot of using APIs is just kind of learning what it's giving you and then how we want to react to it. That's unintentional joke. If we reload the page, you can see we have George, Janet, Emma, Eve, Charles, Tracy. We have all their first names. We can also get their second names or last names. I'm tired. Last name, and you can see that we also have those. Let me make that H4 just a little bit smaller, so we have all these names. We can also, pull some other data outside of this loop. So we can say users page, and we can do users.page because it says 1. Users page 1. We can also maybe put the number of users, so not users.per_page users. You see we have 6 users. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This looks pretty good. Okay, so we have this, right? Works awesome. right? We can now pull data off of our API. Maybe we want to add an image. We can do user.avatar, and we'll just do that, and you'll see they'll all kind of appear right there. Yay! So that's your kind of first experience with working with APIs. So one thing that kind of happens a lot with APIs is you're going to get an API that's super, super bloated. It's going to have a lot of data, and you might not need all of it. So we're going to have to manipulate it if you don't have any control because it's an external API. If it's internal, so like at STEMpump, we have, our courses contain loads of data, but on every page, we don't really need all of it. So what we do is on the API end, we query it to only give us certain data, like maybe only the title or only the description of a course rather than every single thing like, chapters, lessons, quizzes, whatever. You can query on a need-by-need basis, but we can't really do that here because we don't really own the API at this level. So what we can do is write a function to trim it down for us. So let's do that. We can do function, and we can just write format users, for example. You can really name it whatever you want. And I'm going to explain like a really easy way to go about it. There are probably even better ways to go about this, but I think this is easy to understand. So we have this. It's going to take in a parameter of users. And then what it's going to do, we want to take this and kind of fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable var, and we're going to call it new users, or it's mean empty array, and at the end we're going to return new users. All right, so what we can do is we can actually iterate over all of our users. We use the map up here, but now that we're in a plain JavaScript function, we're going to have to use a for each. So we'll do users.forEach, and we kind of structure it the exact same. So user, and then right here we'll add some curly braces, and this is where all our formatting will go. It's not really formatting, but just kind of changing how our data is kind of seen, manipulating, right? So I don't really want, say, ID or but I want these names to be one full name. So I don't even need ID or email. I can tell it what I want. But we also got to add, so I'll do new users dot push, and then we have this, and I'll add that on the inside. And I'll say I don't want ID, but I want the avatar, but I want to call it image. Actually, I'll call it profile. Oh, yeah, image is fine. And image is equal to user.avatar. And like I said, I want full name. So name equals user.first name plus a space plus user underscore last name, comma. So we have all this, and now we have format users. Create another prop, and I'll call it f_users, and we'll set it equal to format users users.data. Okay, and now if I change this to f_users, I can replace this with user.name, make that image. Oh, I gotta define it still. What? Oh, this also doesn't exist because we fixed it. There we go. Cool. And you can see now we're getting full names, all based on this. And this is kind of the super easy way to go about, changing our data. And we can kind of see what this looks like. So if I just change this to format users.data, and I just reload this page, you can now see we've simplified it. We have full names, and we have images as well. And say we want to add more, you can just do ID user.id, comma, email user.email, comma, and you see they all kind of update like that. So that's how we manipulate our API. What we're doing is we're taking our data that we get, so all this JSON. Then what we're doing is we're going to format it into what we want. So we want only these, image, email, ID. It already kind of gives us that, but we want to condense our first name and last name into a full name. And then we can just return that out, and it returns back as JSON here. So we're kind of doing that, and we're able to send it as a separate prop. Okay, so we've done this, which is kind of a really good first look into APIs, and you can kind of see if we change this page number, you get totally different people. Page 3. So it doesn't look like anything's happening because I don't think there is a page 3. Yeah, see? Page 2, page 3, page 4. Yeah. Yeah, there's only 2 total pages from what we see right here. See, total 12 out of 2 pages. Let's talk about how we can, go between these 2 pages and create a better, interface for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it users. I'm going to create a new thing in here called user page.js. And I'm going to kind of just copy all this code into here, but delete that. And so if I go to user-page, nothing should come up, yeah. But if I do this, or sorry, if I go to users, -1, 2, 3, it's going to complain about getStaticPaths. So I'm just going to do a really quick workaround, which is we're going to write export async function getStaticPaths, which is what it kind of wants, and then we're going to return paths. It's going to be empty, and then we're going to fall back on blocking. This isn't really a good idea, but it gets our point across. Alternatively, we could just specify which ones we want it to do. But I mean, and I'll kind of show that as well. In that option of I guess actually following it instead of coming up with this is export async function getStaticPaths once again. But this time, what we're going to do is we're going to return our paths in an array of 2 items, and it'll be params document 1. So we have that as our first, and then our second one would be 2. Honestly, I'll just go with this one. I'm going to comment that out. That was probably a bad idea at all. Okay, here. Oh, and then we also need to set up a fallback in case that the page we didn't specify the path or the page. Fallback false. User page was not provided. Oh, this user page. There we go. Oh, he doesn't like that. I'll just do users. And then we'll do this as user page. One word. There we go. And if it's 3, it's just going to say it could not be found. So we have 1 and 2. It's stuck on 3, obviously. But like I said, if we change it here, it kind of goes back. And if we make it 2, it kind of stays like that. So what we want to do now is navigate between the 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to accept a new thing into our getStaticProps called params or parameters. And we're going to receive a constant. We're going to call it the slug, and we're going to set it equal to params.users. Now, if I actually console log, which is like really helpful, just so you can kind of see, that it says 2 right here, 2, and that's what this value. So I made it 1. You can see it became 1. So we can now use this. We can change this to a backtick here, and then what we'll do is we'll add a $sign and a curly braces, and this adds slug. So now if I go to page 2, you can see everything now changes. Really, really cool. Okay, so we can leave all that kind of the same. Now what we'll do is we'll kind of add some navigation. So we're going to import one of the packages that comes with Next. Import link here. Cool. And we'll add a link at the bottom. So we're going to write link href, and then we're going to do our curly braces, backticks, and I'm just going to do slash user page, and then I'm going to add one of these, and I'm going to basically say that let's also get our slug actually, because then we'll know on the page what we're actually doing. So come with slug, slug +1. Next page, you can kind of see this little arrow now, and it complains because what we need to do here is, since this is a string, we're just going to do parse int to convert it into a actual thing. And now if I do next page, you get 2, but let's go to a back page. So I'll set it up so what we'll do is actually say const page num equals parse int slug. If page num equals 1, then page num +1, else page num -1. We'll kind of do the same thing here. Page num equals 1, else, and we'll do that. And we'll do previous page. Okay. And now you can kind of see we can go back and forth between this page and the next page with this single link component. Users for page here, page 2, previous page, and we can now iterate between the two or just kind of search. So that's pretty cool. We can kind of do that at all. We can even make this more dynamic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out our original data that we get. So users. Just going to scroll down. This is super helpful. And you can see that we have, we're on page. We already know what page we're on. So is it even necessary to have this? Probably not, actually. We don't really even need this because, like I said, the API will provide it to us. And so the only really instance we need is here because the API hasn't been called at that point. So I can just do, and I'm going to change this to data, actually. Just in general, I think it makes more sense to have that as data and have this as users. There. Data, users. Shouldn't have any crashes here. Oh, here. This is just data. Page num. Yes, so now you can do data.page equals that. You can just place all the page nums. If data.page num is not equal to total to data, so data underscore what data dot total underscore pages. So if it's not the last page, we can always add one. And what we'll actually do is we'll kind of break this up entirely into its own thing. Else do that. What I'm doing is building 2 of these, and we'll do previous page, and this will be minus. And this is kind of just like general navigation. We won't really be able to actually see this in the works, but I'm kind of explaining it so you understand how, and kind of this logic behind it. And so what we're going to do is set up as data.page not equal to data.total pages. Null. And then data dot page not equal to 1. Cool. So now we have these two as different statements. So essentially in this first statement, what we're going to see is our, can I not comment like that? Oh, because there's, why can't I comment? Okay, I guess, oh yeah, we're here. So right here, sorry, we're going to be checking, is this page the last page? If so, if not, allow user to go to the next page. And then right here, we're going to say, is this page the first page? If not, allow user to go to the previous page. And so we have these two kind of conditionals that allow us to make these statements of, hey, go next, go previous, next, previous, next, previous, next, previous. Pretty cool. We're going to take it one more step further with this API folder I kind of talked to you about. So this kind of stays on our it stays on our site, and it's under this API section. So if we actually look what's already in there, we have API hello. So you can go to API/hello. Name is John Doe. And that rhymes. I mean, you can see that we have an RES or response status of 200, as well as JSON that's being sent out, which is name John Doe. And you can remember from the recres.in, so recres.in, you can see that all of these had 200 if they were successful. So that's a successful. If I did a 404, you get a different response sent. We wouldn't see it, but the computer would definitely acknowledge it. And the only reason I'm having this is because of the JSON. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take what we've done. We're going to copy it, and we're just going to display it. So I'm going to create a new thing, and we're just going to call it users.js. And we're going to structure it just like this. Okay, so export default async. We're going to have a rec or a request and a response or res. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it, and we're going to add some checks here too. So we're going to add a try statement. So it's going to try it. If it doesn't work, it'll crash. We're going to paste this link that we have. I'm just going to set it to 1 for now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just res.status. Actually, I'll change this to our fat. I'll call it just fetch. Now I'll call it data. Const users equal await data.json. And then we're going to send out a status of 200 with JSON being users. We're also going to catch our error. And if this is the case, we're going to send out a status of 500, which is an error. And it's also going to have a little message with it. Something didn't work. And now if I reload the page, users, you can see we have all of our stuff. Pretty cool. Let's take this one step further. So we can actually just copy over this functionality of our format users function, right? And we can actually just interject it into here. So we can actually place that, add these, and what we're going to do is we're going to set page equal to users.page per page users.page per page total users.total. Hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. We're just kind of mapping out all these values again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say users, format users, users.data. And now, if you reload it, you can see it just got shrunk because now we have our name being interjected. And this is now our new API, which is really cool. Once you publish this to your site through a service or whatever, like Netlify or Vercel, you can use this link practically anywhere. Right now you can't really use it because we're on localhost. and all that. But yeah, the last thing we're going to do in this camp, because I wanted it to kind of be short so we can kind of get an introduction into it, is dynamic API routes. So right here, we're only doing page 1. So let's do multiple pages. I'm at a folder. We're going to call it users. I'm at a thing and just call it page, .js. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, paste this code inside. I'm going to delete this code. You can just delete this file entirely. And now we have this. Now let's kind of see what we get out of this. So I'm gonna comment this out, and we're at const PID equals rec.query and res.end post PID. We're gonna reload the page. Post undefined because it doesn't exist. And this is kind of the example they give you. I just wanted to show you kind of how it was structured. If I change that to page, however, page 1. Awesome. So now that you know that, we can uncomment this, and there we go. It just all kind of works. You can do 3, 4, 5, and so we can also just maybe add a little message here. We'll add a little message here, and we'll say users dot data dot count greater than 0. There are users. Else there are no users. So this one has there are no users. This one also says there are no users, surprisingly. Let me do, length, not count. There we go. I go through too many languages. But yeah, so we can do 1, 2, 3. Right now you won't be able to really access it because how APIs are structured with Next.js, you can't really access those right here. But hopefully another course I'll cover SWR, which is stale while revalidate, which is a really cool technology that works client side, so not on the server like this does. That you can use these really cool local APIs for. You can make an app with users and use this API for it. The joke that Sandy used was like a billboard or whatever, but it's really cool. APIs allow you to kind of take your data that you have and kind of put it wherever you want. You can give it to other people. You can use it yourself. It's a really, really cool thing to learn how to do, and it kind of becomes helpful when you can connect it to other things. Even hardware has APIs, that it follows or it sends data through. So if you kind of wonder how your phone works, you can think, oh wow, there's so many requests being sent every time you do an action like changing your thermostat's temperature from your phone, or unlocking your door. There's APIs that are involved between that tap of a button till your door actually unlocks. So it's really cool to kind of understand how that is. And even though we only focus this on a get pattern today, or just like the get method, we will hopefully do post in the future. This is just meant to be a really simple, basic introduction into APIs and kind of this world, because the previous camp we did was all locally markdown blog stuff. And so we're kind of working our way till Supabase and a lot of other databasing tools that allow us to go further. But yeah, we can kind of go back. And you can kind of see, once again, we have all of this stuff. There's a lot of other things we could have done. We could have done single users, not found, blah, blah. But yeah, that's it for today's camp. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us via social media or STEMpump support or the YouTube channel. There's a billion ways to connect with us. But yeah, have a good day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you later.